Hey guys, welcome back. So getting back into Arisen, which feels like it should be subtitled The Payback of the Batman Who Laughs, with him seeking payback on Lex Luthor amongst his many other plans. But even at this point, with us stepping into the 3/4 mark, it's still pretty tough to see how exactly that's going to pan out, or if Lex Luthor will figure out a way to slip through all this unscathed. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so pretty much just picking up where we had left off with Lex Luthor, who had made his way to the Hall of Justice, and with doing so sneaking in so he can get to Commissioner Gordon, only to find out that Gordon was sent here to infect all of the heroes remaining at the Hall of Justice. And I'm telling you, man, like, just getting back into this story, like, this hits a little bit different in March of 2020, because it feels like in real life somebody's taking a page out of the Batman Who Laughs book and the world is on his knees as a result of it. But really in this case with Lex Luthor, who's trying to figure out a workaround, because essentially at this point in time, with him having his powers from Perpetua, but even still they're completely useless against anyone who's infected, with the source of the infection originating from the dark multiverse, which from its creation is considered unnatural. And if you think about it, like Barbatos, he would be the only vaccine, because originally it was his task to destroy these worlds which were corrupt and would later on become the dark multiverse. And because the dark multiverse is the biggest threat towards Perpetua, with her unnatural powers not being of use against things originating from this unnatural reality, so then naturally the person who would have to destroy it would be the person whose job that was from the beginning, which would either be Barbatos or his creator, the World Forger. But either way, back to Lex, who I mainly just want to make the point of that he's essentially powerless against the infected, which is why Gordon and the others were able to subdue him here. And when they do, like, Gordon takes a minute to like savor this moment, because even before being infected as commissioner, him and the other officers would often have discussions of cracking a case and actually catching Lex Luthor, which would often be very hypothetical, with Luthor being in Metropolis and Gordon's jurisdiction being in Gotham. But these ambitions very much resonated around the premise of them being able to outsmart Luthor one day, and this is something that Gordon had claimed that himself and the rest of the department that they would be able to achieve given the opportunity, and that they could do so by bringing down the old Lex Luthor, and that being Lex without powers, just genius billionaire Lex Luthor. But so now in the middle of this speech, the Joker just walks into the room, and at this point we had known that Lex had sent Mercy Graves to go get the Joker, but even with that there was like no guarantee that he would get involved. And really, if you think about it, the only motivation he would really have for coming here and saving Lex's life from being singled out and taken down by all these infected heroes who still have their powers, but if for no other reason for the Joker coming here, like, it would have to be for him being able to finally tell Lex face to face, "I told you so." But before they even get into that, like, Lex really wants to know, like, how did the Joker get into the Hall of Justice? Because with Lex being able to shapeshift, which was really all he could do to get through to this point, but even with that, Lex is aware that walking into the Hall of Justice is only something you can do to like a certain point, with it being open to the public, but even still, who knows how long that's gonna last before it's shut down. But either way, when the Joker gets into explaining to Lex how he got in, he just lets him know that he just tortured a teleporter into submission, and with doing so he used warp just to teleport him into the Hall of Justice, which is who also the Joker uses to get them right back out. And so now how exactly the Joker tortured or persuaded or did a bit of both to get warp to do all of this, that's not specifically expressed either at this point in time, but yet and still this is the Joker, so we know he has the capability of breaking people psychologically and turning them into completely different characters. But as far as Warp's abilities, he's able to open a doorway in 2 different locations, allowing you to jump from one to the next, and in his case the distance, it could be like super far. But when Warp uses his ability to take the Joker and Lex Luthor back to the Joker's lair, Lex is just like, you know, the hero's got a way of tracing that right back here. And the Joker also has a solution for that, because he gives Warp the gun and he tells Warp to jump to a bunch of different locations to throw the heroes off, and when he's done, more or less just destroy the evidence. And as Warp carried out these instructions, and you know, I don't know if he carried them out like to a T, but I'll still say, like, don't hold your breath for him to Warp back anytime soon. But when the Joker and Lex get back here, and Mercy Graves, who's being held here like while the Joker was gone, but Mercy is being held here by none other than the Joker's new girlfriend, Punchline. to whom, though we don't know much about at this point, but I really feel like sooner than later she's gonna serve the purpose of going up against Harley Quinn. And I really hope that there's more than that, but as of right now, it's like she's just here and we gotta figure that out later on. But when they get here and the Joker mentions to Lex that they have unfinished business to take care of, but with doing so also holding Lex at gunpoint, but Lex also knows that the Joker doesn't want to kill him, because if he did, the Joker would have done that back in Justice League issue 13. And I mean, even though Lex didn't say it exactly like that, we know that's what he's referring to, because at the time, the whole purpose of the Joker almost killing the Legion of Doom, or better yet rather him not killing the Legion of Doom, that had pretty much stemmed from the Joker knowing that they were approaching a fate much worse than just the Joker just killing them. And for the most part, the joke was right, because up to this point, pretty much every other member of the Legion of Doom throughout the year of the villain, we've come to find out that their reward for being loyal to Lex has been less than desirable, to say the least, with Brainiac being turned into a chair and the other members being rewarded with the forces of Perpetua, but only to be utilized as batteries for Lex Luthor to draw his power from. But even still, back when we talked about the Joker nearly destroying the Legion of Doom, but then sparing them because he knew the Batman Who Laughs would have something worse, at that time the Joker didn't know exactly what it would be, but he did know that it was going to be epic. But even fast forward to now, to where at this point Lex brings up the Batman Who Laughs, and doing so to tell the Joker that the Joker won't kill Lex because that way the Batman Who Laughs wins. But even still to this day, the Joker doesn't even want that name mentioned around him. But even with that, here's the thing, because with Lex Luthor going to seek out Commissioner Gordon, but also at the same time sending out for the help of the Joker, but with doing so, Lex got what he needed from the Commissioner, but now that he's here with the Joker, Lex is going to get what he needs from him. And initially he asked the Joker to participate, and of course the Joker declined, but with Lex having the power that he does at this point, he lets the Joker know that he is going to take the information that he needs, because that is the true reason that he requested the Joker's help in the first place. But also to get this information, Lex has to use his Martian telepathy to enter the mind of the Joker and retrieve the answers that he needs. And it's here where Lex Luthor goes into the mind of the Joker, where he pretty much pieces together his plan for not only stopping the Batman Who Laughs, but possibly even curing him. But through the process of discovering this, it's here where Lex sees that the Joker had followed the Batman Who Laughs after Lex released him, which is now something that we know happened definitively before the Joker interfered within the Batman Who Laughs miniseries. But on top of that, with digging deeper, Lex even explains that he doesn't necessarily have to be careful in the Joker's mind while finding what he needs, because how much more messed up can it get? But while Lex is in there, he pretty much picks apart the purpose of the Joker toxin. And really first with him identifying that the Joker toxin, in its main function, it prohibits the moral receptors. And that alone in itself may sound like an oversimplification, but I for one would definitely support the argument that that alone is why the Joker is a genius. And a very sick genius at that, but nonetheless still a genius. Because just imagine, like, with this part of his brain just not being there. And also keep in mind, we're talking about a comic book, so all you doctors down in the comments, don't at me. But just going off of the concept of the Joker's history, like if you just picture this ideal of someone who processes information and things make sense to them in the form of a joke, whether they be super complicated plans, problem solving methods, you name it. But if someone could put all of this together as quick as someone could understand a joke, because that's the way that their mind is now wired to process everything, then in that case you would be dealing with a pretty dangerous yet brilliant person. And on top of this, what Lex Luthor figures out at this point is that the only difference between the Joker toxin and the serum that the Batman Who Laughs has been using on the infected is that the Batman Who Laughs, he's added metals from the dark multiverse. And the way that Lex is able to make this comparison is pretty much because he got a sample from Gordon when he had first arrived at the Hall of Justice. And that sample is what he used to compare to the Joker here and find out what was the difference. But with doing this, Lex comes to the conclusion that he's found a way to win, because the dark metal, which is also in the infected, is also acting as receptors, which then twist the infected into their darker selves. But even with this, Lex also admits that he has the formula now, and by the time the Batman Who Laughs would feel the effects, it would just be too late. But when Lex is done and he steps out of the Joker's mind, it's here where the Joker hits him with a harsh truth, because he lets Lex know, like, hey, when your plans get this big, they usually don't work. And he lets Lex know, like, more or less, like, hey, I hate to break it to you, buddy, but this ain't no different. And Lex, of course, takes it as an insult, but essentially what the Joker is trying to tell Lex is that the most powerful version of himself, it's not what he is here in this moment, but rather it's who he was before he gave up everything to follow Perpetua. But it's also here where Lex is like, so what you about to go do? Hit people with laughing gas and spray smiles on their faces? And the Joker's kind of like, well, yeah, Yeah, I mean, it's not as simple as you make it sound, but pretty much. And really, Lex is him trying to flip it on the Joker like it's a jealousy thing. Like it's as if the Joker is missing being a part or his opportunity at being a part of what Lex is doing. And he lets Lex know that it's nothing like that, because there's no part of him that wants to be where Cheetah, Grodd, or Sinestro are right now. And before Lex leaves, he lets him know two things. One, Perpetua and the Batman Who Laughs are using him, but it's like he's just too arrogant to notice. But then also the Joker tells Lex, like, when it comes to the time just before you die, like, make sure you kill the Batman Who Laughs first. And I'm pretty sure the Joker made that suggestion, because if Lex is successful at any part of this in the future, like, at least get that one thing done. But it's after this where we jump over to the Batman Who Laughs, to where he has kidnapped another mysterious figure, to whom, if I had to guess this like 2 years ago, I would have been right on the money, because this time it actually is Nix Uoten. And man, I remember like the whole thing with Dark Knight's Metal, trying to figure out who was in the chair, and I was like, it's Nix, it gotta be Nix. But nope, it was the Monitor. And I was just like, man, I can't keep up with what form the Monitor's in, and that Nix ain't even a part of that no more. But apparently at this point, the Batman Who Laughs still has use form. And though he claims that he refuses to give up any information to help the Batman Who Laughs, the Batman Who Laughs tells him like, hey, we're at Cadmus Labs, I don't need your cooperation, because the cloning technology here, it got me covered on that. Which really is like your obscure setup, but it's really more so showing us just a glimpse at what else the Batman Who Laughs has up his sleeve. But after this, with the Batman Who Laughs contacting Commissioner Gordon and telling him to rally everyone up at the Hall of Justice, because at this point, he's just ready to end this, which is really what brings us to the beginning of this showdown between all of the infected who are here to stop Lex Luthor, who by the way is finally pleased that he gets to confront the Batman Who Laughs face to face. And when Lex arrives here, of course he doesn't come alone, because with doing so he's brought with him different villains who have sided with Perpetua. And so now here's the thing, because I'm just gonna jump out on a limb and just guess where this is going. Because at this point, with us heading into the conclusion of Hell Arisen, with one more issue after this to go, it really feels like this cure, or whatever this concoction may be that Lex has come up with to use on the Batman Who Laughs, I feel like he's gonna try it, but it's not gonna work. Or at least it won't work on the Batman Who Laughs, because every cell in his body is from the Dark Multiverse. But on the other hand, with everyone else who's siding with the Batman Who Laughs, who is from this multiverse, and there's a few who aren't, so pretty much everyone who's not from the Dark Multiverse. Like, those are the people it'll work on, changing everything back to normal and leaving the Batman Who Laughs just as the Batman Who Laughs. And I mean, that's just my thoughts, just where I think it's going. But real quick, just want to give a shout out to all the Patreons. Shout out to Kendall M, Brad H, and Andre, who all have recently jumped into a higher tier. Shout out to Earbar T, Princeton J, Dre J, P, Chris O, and Randy J. So thank you guys, all of you once again. And for anyone who's recently pledged and you haven't seen your name come up yet, don't worry, I update these towards the beginning of the month. That way it's a little easier for me to catch all the updates at one time. So when you see updates here in March, just know that these are people from like February. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Hell Arisen is almost done. And I don't know about you guys, but for me to like make a story good, or for me to feel like it's substantial, I'm looking at the journey, how it ends, and overall how significant it is to the different characters. And with Hell Arisen, I don't know how I feel just yet, with most of it feeling like a setup for this 4th issue, which for me has me feeling like, man, it better be fire. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again in the next one. Alright, later.